Try Darkside Mandalorians. They're great. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. We're doing this series again this month. We skipped 1 month because, frankly, there wasn't much going on, and I don't want to waste everyone's time recapping what kind of nothing has happened and how to stay relevant. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Let's talk about my patrons first. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. You guys are awesome. Truly, really appreciate every single one of you guys. And if you want to support this channel for free, guys, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, comment, mount the algorithm, folks. It's yours for the taking. I don't. It's on the table, folks. Why are there tables with the algorithm left unmounted? It just seems unfeasible and kind of just borderline irresponsible, guys. I'd log that up if I were you. Now, why are we making this video again? Because we got to have new factors, right? If we're gonna update kind of our farming list, what things are we looking for? So Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, we have more information on him and his faction. Stap has been released. It's emblematic of episode 1. I don't know if they used the word emblematic, but I don't know who uses that word. I don't know where that came from. I don't think I use that word, frankly. I know you don't use that word. So let's just try to just leave it right here. Emblematic of episode 1 and move right on. There hasn't been much news, but there's a lot of stuff that we can kind of extrapolate. There is going to be a road ahead, probably this month, probably like to the day this is released or the day after, something like that, the same week, and that it might just totally disprove all the things that I'm talking about here, but it's worth making this video all the same because we haven't made one for a couple months. Bo-Katan keeps being unlockable, which is something that has never really happened and is probably a big hint for something moving forward. We'll talk about that. And hey, Comeuppance is here. We've got another Y-Wing, and CG has disclosed their affinity for the end of the alphabet, folks. I mean, there's no A-Wings, there's no B-Wings, there's X-Wings and Y-Wings. It's disturbing, frankly, folks. So what's our goal in this discussion? Like, why are we talking about what to farm? Why shouldn't you guys just farm all the random crap that you think is going to be fun and make the game more fun? Because we're trying to get as much stuff as we can. You can farm all that worthless crap later on your own time once you have all of the resources that you need. And so we're trying to get resources for all of these different characters and events and all of this stuff. We're also trying to stay relevant. There's nothing worse than working on a squad and finishing it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, and it's useless. I can't use it right now. It's not relevant because it's old. People used it 3 years ago. I get with the times. Stop farming that squad, please. What squad is that? I'll let you guys know when we get to it. And be efficient as well if you can. Trying to get these things is going to be important, but I'm going to say this right now, and I know that a lot of people will disagree with me, but sometimes you have to give way with efficiency in order to be more effective. Effectiveness is going to be way more important than efficiency. Even though efficiency feels better, effectiveness is probably going to end up being a little more important. So what farms should we be focused on? There are a couple game modes here that are going to advance naturally, and GAC, Territory Wars, Conquest, all things that kind of just progress as you develop your roster. Some of the nodes are going to some of the, I guess, game modes, I said nodes, are going to be advanced by focusing on specific farms like Fleet Arena, the current raid, Rise of the Empire, territory battles, events. You guys can read. I'm sorry to just read the screen, but there's a few things that you have to target specific squads. It's like, well, why would you have a Relic 7 Saw Gerrera unless there are specific uses for him, right? Like, it doesn't seem like he needs Relic 7. Usually you think he just needs Gear 12 so that you can unlock Jedi Cal, etc. So, but there are reasons to get him to Relic 7. So PvE is pretty reliable. It's all reliable. You're gonna get the same. You're gonna get crystals every day for Fleet Arena, which is crazy important. The current raid is something that you basically are required to participate in if you want to get the maximum rewards. Rise of the Empire territory battles is going to get you a lot of long-term benefit if you can work on those things. Your whole guild is really going to benefit, and including yourself, and then your whole guild will win territory wars and stuff, or start getting paired with a lot of guilds that are really strong, and so you can't win territory wars anymore. There's also that fun potential consequence, and Conquest is something that is also fairly mandatory. Those characters are all legendary level characters, and you can unlock them for free. Even if you're free to play, you can do it. Yeah, I do it. You can do it. Fleet Arena, probably the most important node or load in the game, folks. I don't know what other woad. There's all ode. There's so many words that rhyme with that. Let's stop. Please make it stop. This is the most important in the game, folks. If you can't finish at the top-ish of Fleet Arena every day, I would go home and rethink my life and consider working on fleets quite a bit. What I really want to do, folks, is pretty soon I want to make a couple more videos on fleets and how to climb with like Profundity, for instance, can still climb to the very top if you know what you're doing. I need to make a video about it though. But one right now, Leviathan is the best, and 7-star Leviathan is infinitely more important than a 6-star Leviathan. A 6-star, it has so few, it has so many fewer advantages as the relic, the 7-star Leviathan has. It's kind of weird, honestly. But there are other fleets that beat Leviathan, so you might think, oh, well, all I need to do is beat Leviathan, and I know that Leviathan's tough to get, because the Conquest character is required, right? You need that, and if you want to beat Leviathan with a non-Conquest, or without your own Leviathan, then a lot of times you want to use Thrawn, but that also requires the Scythe, which is a Conquest character, or unlock, and it can be frustrating. So you might just think, okay, let's just ignore the Conquest ships, and we'll just go with Profundity. And Profundity is great. It's wonderful. It'll beat Leviathan for you, for sure. The thing you need to keep in mind is what's in the next meta. There's no doubt, there's no denying that Profundity is a very, very important ship. And the squad that you get with it is actually really amazing. But it's also going to lose relevance. Executor, the same. Every time you get a new Galactic Legend ship, the ones that came before are going to be just a little less relevant. And so, even though Leviathan may not seem crazy important to you, you may still be getting top of Fleet Arena. You may not be able to next time. Profundity might just not beat whatever the next fleet is. It might not beat its fleet. So, be ready for the new fleet meta somewhere around June if we can kind of form some kind of a prediction with what CG has been doing with their fleet releases in the past 3 years now. We have an okay sample size, in fact. So other important ships. First off, I'm gonna just say this, guys: the comeuppance doesn't seem like it's important at all, except for CG in justifying that, hey, every fleet has 5 different ships now, so we can make your galactic challenges a little more miserable. And that's kind of just what they're trying to do, and that I think that was their excuse. I don't think comeuppance is gonna end up being that important. It does move the needle a little bit in terms of the internal power of the Radis, that fleet, the Resistance fleet. It is good. It's good in that context. It works well with them. Right now, it doesn't beat anything that it didn't beat before. It just steals more banners. So, is it a magical, wonderful, amazing ship? No. It's not. Work on these other ones, guys. Executor, Profundity. You want the Marauder for the Negotiator fleet. These all are ships that move the needle. Your Tide Defender is really strong, and you want to be working on Iden to make it stronger, etc. So lots of things to work on. Comeuppance, farm it when it comes out, like you should be doing anyways, and otherwise don't worry much. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that important. I mean, obviously they may have other plans for us, but that's my guess. Now, Conquest, I mean, I keep this page up so that you guys can, it's just so in case we need to update it. But Conquest, use Galactic Legends to win. If you don't have Galactic Legends, watch my video that I put out at the start of every new Conquest season. I outline how you can get all of the different feats without Galactic Legends so that you can unlock these characters as, you know, free to play with a lower level account. You can unlock these characters. It may take a little longer, but you're able to do it for free without Galactic Legends. And the Darth Bane one, a little bit older at this point, but still relevant. I could probably make a better updated one, but you know what? I don't think I will. Now, which is more important between Rise of the Empire territory battles versus the raid? Because they're both really important. You get a substantial amount of your resources and income from these two. Income is a weird word to use when it comes to CG, because a lot of it isn't incoming. It's more your resources are outgoing if you're spending on the game at least. But which matters more? Here's the thing. Rise of the Empire is designed to last for a really long time. My guild just got to Hoth, which is exciting. It's phase 6. It's the final planet, kind of. And almost no other guild can get there. Like, we're a top 10 guild in terms of how big our guild is, how powerful it is. We had to work really hard to get all the way there. My guild is called Hoth Ski Patrol, so we wanted to get to Hoth, where there's a specific targeted goal to getting there, and it's exciting, it's cool. And most guilds aren't going to get there for a couple more years unless they release like Relic 10 and then make Relic 9 way more accessible, which maybe they'll do this year, who knows. But right now, it's not really a thing. Rise of the Empire. So what I'm saying is, Rise of the Empire is long term. It's going to be years still until we get a new territory battle. They may add new nodes to it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I don't think they're going to get rid of it. So your income there is going to be steady as long as you stay in the same guild and your guild continues to perform at about the same level as it usually does. The raid itself, however, it changes every 8 to 9 months according to CG. We haven't hit that cycle yet. It hasn't hit its stride all the way, but I believe that CG wants to replace the raid every 8 to 9 months, and that the problem is every time a new raid comes out, the old one that you've been playing and perfecting and planning and just doing so well on and just really loving it just goes away and is replaced with completely new requirements, and you have to stay on top of that or you don't get the loot. You can't just settle and say, oh, we'll just do the old raid. No, CG takes away the good rewards from the old raid and just smashes them into the new raid, and that's it. It isn't just hey, you can get the same rewards. It's no, you get terrible rewards if you don't actually upgrade to the new raid. So you got to stay relevant on the raid. And so raid ends up being the focus on a lot of our farms right now, because Rise of the Empire can be a slower burn, whereas the raid can take you gotta hustle, you gotta rush to get there. Now, for the current raid, folks, the Endor raid started in the middle of November, basically. And if they're consistent, then CG is saying that we'll get a new raid somewhere around July or August, which means we still have some time to be farming characters for this new raid for it to be worthwhile. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but there's a lot of characters right now that you can farm. I have a video, in fact, I'll try to put it in the video description, in fact, the link to it, of safe farms that you can work on that you're not going to regret later. It's like, okay, what raid characters are going to really impact things for me If you work on Drogon, for instance, he's going to be really helpful way down the line. If you don't have Leia, he's still going to be an amazing, really awesome character for you to have. If you put him into Relic 8 or 9 or whatever you want to put him to, you're not going to regret it. So I'll try to put that video in the link in the video description if you want to see it. Here's a short list of some of the different characters though that you're not going to regret farming. But the question is, at what point will it stop being worth farming these raid-only characters like Chief Chirpa, Ewok Elder, really good characters in the raid, and then after the raid, you're left with a bunch of Relic 8 furballs that don't do that much. Like, they're not good long term, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, the Ewok faction can be decent, but man, it takes so much investment compared to what your payoff is, in my opinion. So, I'm not telling you not to work on Ewoks. I just, I would recommend not working on Ewoks. So, I think that what we need to be thinking of is how many total raids are there going to be. And if you look at it in terms of 8 to 9 months, that's about 40 to 45 total raids from start to finish. So we finished about 14 total, which is about 1/3 of how many total raids we're going to have, which means we're going to have, 2/3 of the raids remaining, and probably worth thinking just in terms of that. Like, right now we've gotten 1/3 of the total amount of rewards that we get. And so if you work on an Ewok right now, that isn't like Nisa's good because of requirement reasons, but if you work on an Ewok to get him to Relic 8 right now, he's only going to get you 2/3 of the total rewards that this raid has to offer. If you think of it as just like a meal that you're going to eat, think of it as we've already eaten 1/3 of what's on your plate. And so if you work on an Ewok to get you better rewards or to help your guild or whatever, maybe your total meal size will increase a little bit, but 1/3 will as your meal increases in size, that 1/3 spot will actually continue to expand to be more and more, because you're running out of time. And you wouldn't want to gear up Ewok Elder the day before the last raid just for that last raid. Like, it's not going to be worth putting Relic 8 materials on a character that's going to be worthless in one more raid. And so I still think there's a couple more months that you could be working on some of these characters, but you need to start pumping the brakes here somewhat soon. In the next couple months, we'll review it. I'll try to put this video out once a month, just so that we can discuss it and try to figure out what to do and what to stop. And I think that my guess is that the next raid is going to be, well, I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Naboo. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that Naboo was the next raid. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I think. Now, as far as the Rise of the Empire, man, there's so much going on. The thing is, Rise of the Empire, a lot of people see how many stars they make, how many they earn in a given territory battle as like, hey, this is the pinnacle. This is how we increase our total rewards. We're going from 30 stars to 31 stars, or whatever your guild is at. That looks cool. Well, the thing is, the incremental growth in stars is actually like, once you get to a certain point, you're just going to stop getting that good of rewards for stars, and getting another star may feel good, but it's not going to be that huge of an extra payout. What you really want to be looking at as a guild, if you want to increase your total rewards, it's not going to be in stars. Yes, you get some increase in gear and stuff, and you shouldn't just say no to earning more stars, but and it's nice to have something as a guild, a tangible result to point to be like, oh, hey, look at this. Our guild managed to get this many stars growth in the last year. That's kind of nice to have something to point to. But the real secret to Rise of the Empire, guys, the way to get the most income is in rewards is to focus on special missions, getting those characters and squads up and going for the different special missions. So I put a list here at the bottom. Gosh, that is slanted like crazy. But the teams that you can be working on for the special missions, and I keep meaning to put together a full special missions video to show you guys how to do all the different special missions in Rise of the Empire. I did put out a video for the Night Sisters, the Marin one, and maybe I'll probably put out individual ones first, and then I'll do one big like collection of them or something like that. It'll be so good, you guys won't even realize how good it is. You'll be like, wow, I don't think it's that good. But working on some of these. So the Cal missions, really strong. Like the ones, if you unlock the planet Zepho, you know, you get Jedi Cal, you have to unlock him, obviously. But then him with Seer, you get a lot of GET2. And remember, guys, a lot of people ask me, why are you caring about GET2? Why do you keep saying like that going to Zepho, that doing special missions cures the Kyrotech crunch? Because I say that a lot. And it's because you can buy Kyrotech with GET2. And I mean, it's as simple as that. Your guild earns a lot of GET2. And honestly, on a couple of my accounts at this point, it's like I have so much currency that I almost don't need to buy more Kyrotech. I mean, I need to buy more Kyrotech, but I'm not keeping up with it. It's like I'm accumulating it at a faster rate than I can spend it, mostly because I'm lazy and don't go into the stores. But it is very helpful for the Kyrotech crunch. I honestly think that in a couple years, most guilds will not have that as a crunch anymore. At least the guilds who have been diligent in working on their special missions. I think that the big crunch is going, and bottleneck for gearing and everything for advancing characters is going to be more in signal data than anything else. Though, you know, there will be other ones as well. Omicron's is one of them. So Galactic Legends, this is more of a placeholder page. We haven't had much more for the Galactic Legends tokens stuff that they're basically, CG's like, oh, hey, we forgot to release this event at one time. So, but we never promised that it would be every time that Conquest was finished. But now it looks like it is going to be every time Conquest finished. This event is weird, guys. I don't get it. But anyways, for the new releases, and this is the question of how important are these new releases? Because I mean, we all have, there's two different schools of thought, right? Like there's people who say, like me, who say, hey, you should farm characters when they're released a lot of times because they may be required pretty soon and they might be important. And other people who say, no, you have to wait till they're accelerated so it's more efficient to work on those characters later. And all I can say is, like, working on Jedi Cal and getting him done early on my middle account has been tremendously, amazingly helpful. It has been transcendent and awesome, and I don't regret it at all. I regret that Jedi Cal is taking so long to be re-released, but that farm has been, it's just been such a cool thing to have Jedi Cal on that little account. Or it's not a little account really, but on that smaller account has been so helpful. But other characters, it's like, well, you can probably just kind of skip. And so the question is, can these new releases be skipped until they're accelerated or not? And so I guess the thing I keep thinking of, CG's going to prove me wrong here at some point maybe, but it just seems like right now Mandalorians are missing someone. If you look at the list of Darkside Mandalorians, there's only 4 of them. And, you know, you could put Dark Trooper Moff Gideon in there, or you could put another Empire character or whatever, but right now they've put a lot of effort into fleshing out light side versus dark side. I think we have a full light side team. It's not my very favorite squad, frankly, with Bo-Katan Mandalore, but I think we're going to get another node in Rise of the Empire with some kind of unlock for dark side Mandalorians. That's what I think. I think that we're going to get that. And so I think we're going to get a new character. And so I think that the new characters are, if you're in a guild that's going to be trying to unlock these different planets and get the new unlocks, I think working on the new Mandalorian stuff, makes sense. It's all farmable right now. And Kelleran Beck is really strong. A lot of the territory war guilds right now are requiring his Omicron being applied because it's a territory war Omicron, but it's very impactful. And It seems pretty good. Comeuppance, I think you can just wait. Just wait till it's released on the node. Just slow farm it. Don't farm it for a couple months. I don't care. Just leave me alone about comeuppance. And I think Stap is really going to be important. I think that he's going to be a requirement character for whatever the like mid-year legendary character is that CG typically releases. But I also think because he's the first to be released there, he's probably the character you can wait the longest. And you could probably just farm him for free on the nodes instead of like farming him for crystals or, you know, doing what I call like light whaling, which is just spending money on crystals as opposed to the gamble packs. So Step looks important. He really does. I don't think he's going to be the first of the requirements for whatever this new character unlock is going to be, but I don't think he's going to be anything other. Like he's the first of his kind. It's like not Keller and Beck. Paz Vizsla was easily farmable before the Bo-Katan event, for instance. So I always have this page for the Inquisition. They're just really good, guys. You should be planning around when to get Inquisition. I'm not saying you need to get them right now, but they are very strong. Imperial Remnants, they look very strong. They look like a top 16 team. Remember, you can place 8 teams on the Territory War board, and on defense, and then you use 8 teams to counter them in a perfect Territory War. That's all you need. You need 16 teams, 8 to deploy, and 8 to attack with. That's obviously not how it works in a lot of guilds, but at the very, very top, where they don't really fail that many attacks, it's all just a really small margin of, like, if you don't get a ton of 20s, if your whole guild gets 19s in one zone as opposed to the other, it's tragic because you've dropped 50 banners kind of thing. So this is... It's one of the top 16 teams for Territory Wars, and it doesn't look like they're going to be bad. The thing is, any team that ends up using your opponent's turn meter against it is like turn meter gain against it is really strong, and that's what Dark Trooper Moff Gideon has. He's a very tanky character. The whole faction is really strong. I think it's going to be good, and I think it's a faction that's going to be updated long term. It might take a couple years, but once the new Mando movie is released, it might be pretty good. So might be worth a look here, folks. And right now, if you can get it right this instant, there's also a really strong datacron for it. None of the characters are bad. A couple of them are very, very useful in the Endor raid, so it's worth it. The Misfit farms, nothing really has come of this. Like, I haven't added new teams or anything. Now for speculation, here's the thing. I think that so when Stap came out, that they said, hey, we wanted an iconic character that's going to be there we go, emblematic of episode 1. I'm sure they didn't use that word, but They wanted something that was iconic and exciting for episode 1. Honestly, Step is cool. I wouldn't look at it at episode 1 and be like, you know what really represents episode 1 for me after 25 years? Yeah, that droid on the little speeder thing. That was, the like Qui-Gon blew up a couple of at the start when they met Jar Jar. Like, that's really what the essence of episode 1 is. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things about episode 1 that you can like or dislike, but Stap is a pretty minor character in all of that. And I think that this is just something that's going to happen. Maybe it's our last droid release for this, but I really think that we're going to get a lot of Naboo stuff. I think, and there's too many options, honestly. Like, they can't possibly release all the characters this year that they could for a Naboo release. They could have a Gun faction, which people are like, dude, you have to release at least 5, probably 6 different guns in 1 year. That's not going to happen. They did that for Inquisition. They totally did that for Inquisition. It could very easily happen, and we could get Jar Jar. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying be prepared for Jar Jar to be here. I think he will be here, frankly. He was one of the main characters in all of the movies that has never been released or hinted at all. That I think he's kind of missing a little bit. Whether or not you love him is another matter. But they could also, they don't have to do a Gungan faction. They could release Jar Jar and just have a Naboo faction where you get like Captain Panaka, and maybe you get Captain Tarpals on his beast. You get Jar Jar. You get like a Queen Amidala kind of character. Boss Nass. You could get a few kind of just epic like Naboo faction characters. It's like, hey, we have a squad of characters with blasters, and we represent a peaceful planet, pacifistic, peaceful planet. We might get a Naboo raid. I can't get that out of my head. I think that it makes too much sense. If they keep releasing characters right now, starting now, and they keep releasing them, it'll all head toward some really epic raid on Naboo, is what I think. We could get Padme's shiny ship, we could get the Naboo fighter, we could get Newt Gunray's donut ship, the Trade Federation thing, we could get Trench's capital ship, that could be cool, though he's not part of Naboo. He still kind of fits the overall theme of, Old Republic, that kind of, well, not Old Republic, but the Republic, Galactic Republic, versus, separatists obviously are opposing them eventually, whatever. I do think I think Jar Jar's coming, guys. I think you just need to deal with it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's my guess. So for the final recap, folks, the most urgent things, you can read this yourself, pause it if you want. I think almost nothing changed here. I think here's my wild guess for what the next Conquest character is. I know everyone's pointing at Red 5. Maybe. They've said it's a light side Conquest character, or Conquest release. It could be Red 5. I think that they've been trolling us too long, and Red 5 should be a bigger release than just a Conquest character. I think they could release Gungi for the Wookiee faction, and that way they can still focus on Naboo stuff and Episode 1, even as they release Conquest characters that are kind of different from all of those releases, and that would boost the Wookiee faction a ton. It would make a lot of sense, in my opinion, and I just haven't given up on Gungi being an awesome release. So smaller things to look at, guys. Iden, one of the best farms right now because her ship is so important, and she's amazing in the raid, and I mean there's keeps being good datacrons for Imperials that'll dry up eventually, but it's really good right now. Mando stock is really high right now because of Bo-Katan Mandalore, and if we can unlock that Rise of the Empire node with Mandalore, I think that's going to be really strong. Trench could easily be the next capital ship pilot, so if you have the ability to farm him more or to work on him, I would suggest at least keeping an eye on him. He's not like the most amazing character. He's a lot better than people give him credit for, though. Remnants look really good. I think that if Remnants could potentially be one of the teams that you could get like a special mission for on Mandalore. Honestly, that could be one of the ways they fit in to things. Otherwise, start thinking about unlocking Bo-Katan Mandalore, because they keep releasing new events every single. It's like less than a month away every single time. Hey, look, Bo-Katan, you can unlock her, you can unlock her, you can unlock her. It seems like they're sending a message like, hey, you might need her. Like, work on these characters. They're all farmable now. Maybe work on the characters to unlock her. And then, like I said, like I keep saying, guys, get ready for Naboo. I don't know if we're going to get it. I think one of the reasons that I keep thinking of it, though, is, when they released STAP, how they released the different, like, art along with, or the little animations. It's absolutely, all the animations are shooting things that are on Naboo itself. And we don't have any landscapes for Naboo as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know. Also, Naboo they could surprise us and have us unlock a Naboo node instead in Rise of the Empire. I don't really know, but one way or another, I think Naboo's coming. And they even mentioned, like, hey, Stap looks like a separatist, but he might not look like a separatist in other events, like wink wink. What other events could there be? Well, there's a lot, but anyways, folks, that's it. A little long-winded today, though these are usually about half an hour, so thank you so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Zareth prevails.